So a question some of you guys have been asking me is, Retro Gaming 285, are you ever going to talk about modern games on the Why I Love or Why I Hate series? Modern games? There's modern games? Evidently there is, but no, you'll never see anything like that on this channel. So, if you're looking for stuff like Xbox One, PlayStation 4, PC reviews, stuff like that, why don't you check out my buddy over here. Yeah, he looks a little funny, but he's a good dude. He makes good videos, so if you're looking for modern stuff, make sure you check him out, because you'll never see anything like this on this channel. The Castlevania series is one of my favorite series of all time. As the bits went up, the hits kept coming. Castlevania 1, awesome. Castlevania 2, Simon's Quest, but it was still pretty good. Castlevania 3, Dracula's Curse, freaking awesome. Super Castlevania 4, freaking awesome. Castlevania Dracula X, I don't own it yet, but it's freaking awesome. Keyword, yet. Castlevania Symphony of the Night, freaking awesome. 8-bit Castlevania games were great, 16-bit Castlevania games were great, 32-bit Castlevania games were great, 64-bit Castlevania games sucked ass. And that's what we're going to look at today. Why I hate Castlevania 64. I actually remember the exact day when I got Castlevania 64. Walked into a Target with my mom, saw it on the shelf and was like, yo, I gotta have this. You know, 64-bit games of old games were good. Super Mario 64 was good, so why shouldn't Castlevania 64 be good? Let's find out.
Castlevania 64 is the first 3D entry of the series, and you would think it would have potential. A big scary 3D castle in this awesome intro? Looks like a recipe for success. And then you start the game. Ah, look at these beautiful drab environments. Behold the terrible camera angles and low resolution textures on everything. Even as a kid I thought this game looked questionable, and it is aged with all the grace of a meth head. You play as either Reinhardt, who has a whip, or Carrie, who has magic. I preferred Reinhardt, but neither of them are Belmonts, which was a big deal at the time. Oh look, enemies! It's a big gorilla skeleton. Doesn't this remind anyone of King Kong, opening the gate to a giant ape? Exactly why is this in a Castlevania game? Did Dracula kill King Kong, resurrect his skeleton, and place him in front of the castle to guard it? This scene shows one of the biggest flaws in the game. Castlevania games have platforming, and there's always been enemies lurking by. This game is just so barren, so empty. Sure, it gets a little busier inside of the castle, but it's not really much of an improvement. All this platforming just feels like filler, and while I understand it's trying to convey the journey to the castle, it needs to be at least fun and appealing, or else people won't even care to get to the castle. After spending some time in the castle, you have to carry an item, Magical Nitro, from one end of an area to another. But there's a catch. You can't jump or get hit by an enemy, or you'll explode. Since this is a 3D platformer where you jump on stuff, expect to see this lovely game over screen a lot. The problem isn't so much in the task, but the controls and camera are so terrible, it makes this a chore, and honestly, this is as far as I got when I was younger.
This is where the game starts turning to absolute shit. I could deal with the terrible graphics, I could deal with the terrible controls, but when you have to have an item and go throughout a portion of the castle holding this item without getting hit by any enemies, it pisses me off. It frustrated me as a kid, and it pisses me off as an adult.
For some reason, if you want to keep playing the game, you finally meet up with Dracula. Or Santa Claus? Tim the Toolman Taylor? Ho 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 ho! Do battle with Dracula and good luck because the camera will screw you over every chance it gets, and then you can say you completed the worst Castlevania game ever. Yay. Pat yourself on the back and give yourself a cookie.
Yes, Castlevania 64 is a terrible game, but really, that's not the reason I hate it. I hate it for a much bigger reason. I hate it for what it did to Konami. Castlevania 64 was much more impactful than people realize. Do you honestly know what this game did? I need a cigarette before I get into this. Castlevania 64 ruined Castlevania. You had Castlevania Symphony of the Night on the PlayStation 1, which was a better game, a better selling game, and more traditional with the Castlevania theme. But for some reason, Konami decided that the 3D Castlevanias were the wave of the future. Tell me one thing, when was the last time you saw a 2D Castlevania game on a home console? Sure, there's handheld games, and sure, they're great. The DS ones were great, the PlayStation Portable ones were great, the 3DS one was even pretty good. But you never see Castlevania 2D games on home consoles anymore. Now why is that? Is the 2D market dried up? I don't think so. 2D games come out all the freaking time now. So why in the hell did Konami decide that we're gonna only make 3D games? Shadows of Lament or Lords of Shadows or whatever the fuck it is? I don't want these games. Nobody wants these games. They're always broken, buggy, and rip off other games like Devil May Cry or God of War. So why not get back to your roots? Why not make a 2D Castlevania game again? No, because you don't want to. Because you're too fucking stupid to realize that that's what people actually want. Things like this make me want to go outside and scream, "Fuck Konami!"
Fuck Konami!